beautiful thing about sports. You can see somebody come up to the moment.
Think about Wallace trying to make up for it.
You can see a team come together. You can see the epic happen.
He is remarkably gifted.
And when it happens live,
Touchdown!
even if it was scripted, pregame, you would have said, nah, that couldn't happen.
Can you believe it? Oh, he has trouble with the snap. Unbelievable!
That's what I love about sports.
I mean, what's better than Matthew McConaughey in college football? Welcome to the College Football Preview Show presented by Cheez-It. I'm Christine Williamson. I do not know how it is already college football season, but I'm so excited. For that reason, and also because I got Jason Fitz and Golic Jr. here in the building. How excited are you guys? I mean, like, this is it's happening. It's happening right now.
It has been such a long time coming here, Fitz. I know we get to the offseason every year and we're all excited to have a little bit of break, and then that very quickly turns over to me being so thirsty for Nebraska at Illinois starting off the Saturday window. But let's go!
Look, we can. Are we talking about football or Cheez-It at this point? Because, like, this is the death of me, because every single year I work out all summer and I'm like, I feel good about myself. And then we get to the fall and I know one thing's inevitable. I'm eating Cheez-It.
That is the best and worst part about where we've come up here. And by best and worst, I mean it's only the best. Because we have gotten to this point now where we get to come out here, talk college football, and I get to slam white cheddar and buffalo wing in a convenient little, like, mix I got going on right here that I got to tell you, 10 out of 10 would recommend.
I got the double cheddar, by the way, which is part of my mix over here. It is just delight.
I decided to bite Gojo's and do the white cheddar buffalo, and I'm not going to lie.
I told you, right?
It's fire.
I wouldn't steer you wrong.
I mean,
I've been a big man eating snacks for a long time here.
That's how you know you got to trust it.
That's a strong choice. I just looked at it like it's the beginning of the year. Why not broaden my horizons? And then as the season goes on, I know I can get back to Old Faithful.
Hey, man, so you settle in with us, Cheez-It, some delicious snacks, and get ready for the ride, man. We're here.
And I know we got football to get to with all of this, but the thing that, for me, the energy this year. Like, we talked so much about how thankful we all are that we got to cover college football last year. But knowing that there's going to be fans in the stands and knowing the energy that comes with that return at this level, that's the thing that's palpable. That's the thing we can all feel. That's the thing that really has me energized going into this. It feels different. It's hitting harder because it has meant so much to so many people, and we know we're going to get back to packed houses. Oh, it gives me goosebumps thinking about it.
Yeah, and there's so much unknown, starting with the quarterbacks, because we lost Mac Jones, we lost Trevor Lawrence, we lost Justin Fields, we lost Ian Book. So that means that there's a lot of guys that are going to be under center that we did not see last season. And let's start with Alabama, because Bryce Young has really got some big shoes to fill. Mac Jones, obviously no longer at Alabama. Do we feel like Bryce Young will be able to do what he needs to do at the Crimson Tide?
There's at least a million reasons why. I mean, Nick Saban came out and said that, before even taking a snap this year, Bryce is a millionaire at this point, thanks to name, image, likeness, which we'll get to later in the show. But, Mike, I got to feel like when you start talking about this quarterback position, we give a lot of benefit of the doubt because we've seen everybody plug and play. We talk about Oklahoma being plug and play. That's what Bama is at the quarterback position at this point.
They are, and without the benefit of the continuity of a lot of other programs, like, I give them a lot of credit because I'm still willing to give them the benefit, despite the fact that it's another year turning over a coordinator, Bill O'Brien taking over there now after Stark went and took the Texas job. So you're going to have to change a lot of the things here, and they've managed and shown aptitude to navigate that before. So I struggle to see why they wouldn't be able to navigate that now. But Bryce Young, way different quarterback, a lot smaller, supposed to get back to the dual threat stuff you were able to do with Tua. So it's going to be a different looking offense. But when you got guys like Evan Neal up front here doing split box jumps from hell, you're probably in a good spot.
But you're talking about the big uglies up front, but we should at least acknowledge there's a tremendous loss of weaponry around him, right? I mean, you're talking about Smith and Harris and,
Jalen Waddle.
Right, Jalen Waddle. You've got guys that are expected to make immediate Sunday impact that are no longer part of this Alabama team. I think that's significant when you talk about it. And Bill O'Brien, not a good coordinator, a great coordinator when he's an offensive coordinator. But they've still got to learn a system with new weapons.
They do, but again, when you are rolling in five-star beef up front, that's the difference between the haves and almost everyone else, is despite losing Landon Dickerson, who was the heart and soul of that team, and Alex Leatherwood, first-round pick for your Raiders, you're going to reload with some pretty stacked dudes.
I'm just saying. They say he's doing really well. All right, I'm just saying.
Congratulations. It's a college football show. Let's move on to a team that I like to talk about a little bit. Clemson, the Clemson Tigers. They lost Sunshine. Trevor Lawrence is no longer in Clemson, South Carolina, but DJ Uiagalelei started 2 games for them last season. Do we feel like he will start where Trevor Lawrence left off?
Yeah, they're going to be all right here. As someone who has personally been affected, personally victimized by DJ Uiagalelei, all he did in his second start was walk into Notre Dame Stadium and set a record for yards thrown by an opposing quarterback. As a true freshman, subbing out in place for a guy that would be the eventual #1 overall pick. You lose Travis Etienne as well, Jackson Carman on that offensive line, but Clemson's another place. Benefit of the doubt, and DJ is going to have the help on the other side of the ball because we know Brent Venables is always there. They bring back a defensive line that is going to be like 2017 Clemson defensive line levels of deadly.
So I'm going to go back to last season, and right when DJ was having a start, I was working with Tom Luganville and EJ Manuel on one of our college football shows on TV. And both of them, before we even got to the show, said, look, you don't understand. This is a kid that since 8th grade, people have been obsessed about his ability to play the quarterback position. I think they got a little bit of bonus last year by getting him the time and experience that they got him, getting him comfortable. He's now not coming in necessarily having to fill Trevor Lawrence's shoes. He's coming in being something that's a bit of a known entity because of what he did last year, and he looked great doing it, Mike. I just feel like he's a step ahead.
2 big things for me. 1, not as potent on the ground as Trevor Lawrence was. We saw in the ACC championship game what a big difference that made for the Clemson offense. But 2, gets Justin Ross back, cleared the wide receiver who had to miss last season after an offseason procedure, who should be another dynamite first rounder.
And let's also acknowledge the fact that Clemson, a huge game week 1, and then it's just free skating after that. Not the toughest schedule after they take on Georgia. I'm just saying.
I mean,
this is a reminder Christine also gets to cheat. She's got 2 teams. Don't let her lie to you.
In the same conference that are rivals. I don't get any of this.
They're in 2 different divisions. It doesn't really count, does it? I mean,
so you get to actually minor in the Coastal? That feels unfair. As a Coastal alum at Notre Dame.
Oh, my God.
I mean, it's fine. Don't hate. Everybody likes to hate on me during college football season because I have 2 really good teams to cheer for. And yes, I did just call Miami a really good team. Let's move on to Ohio State. We can talk about that later. We'll talk about that later in the show. Let's move on to Ohio State. Justin Fields no longer in Ohio State. So we have C.J. Stroud, the transfer from Minnesota. How do we feel like he's going to stack up?
Man, listen. This Ohio State quarterback room is scary. Like, we know we went through the Quinn Ewers thing, quarterback who reclassified from high school because he wanted to capitalize in on that. But C.J. Stroud is another guy who I believe when it came to the Elite 11, the same year that Bryce Young was there from Alabama, won at that event here. So outclassing some of the nation's best there. He's going to be the guy leading them onto the field. Again, 2 of the best tackles in the Big Ten on that offensive line. A well-oiled machine with Ryan Day here. This feels like business as usual under center for them.
It's the Ryan Day portion of this that I think we have to step back and acknowledge here. Like, it has become seamless that Ohio State and Ryan Day was able to replace a legend, and they never took a step back. And you're right. I mean, CJ is incredibly athletic. He's going to be able to do everything we saw Justin Fields do. I just don't think there's a big drop-off for them. It's incredible.
Chris Olave, Garrett Wilson. Huge reasons why you will not have much of a drop-off when you might have 2 of the best, if not the 2 best wide receivers in your team, in your wideout room.
I feel like Ohio State has a chance this year to make things look effortless. Offensively, they have a chance to really make things look effortless. It should be a fun season to watch.
Something that is looking effortless. That was not a good transition, but anyways, NIL.
That transition,
like something that was
cheesy.
effortless. Actually, there was a lot of effort put into this. The NIL situation happened this offseason, and now college football students and regular student athletes, other student athletes can make money off of their name, image, and likeness. It's a huge deal. So let's take a look quickly at some of the ones that we saw during the offseason, starting with Alabama freshman JaQuincy Kool-Aid McKinstry. I mean, you can already guess what he was going with. It's Kool-Aid.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, my gosh. You guys are so weird.
Who's ready to run through a wall for Kool-Aid? I mean, come on. It's just so natural.
It only makes me think of Family Guy. Plus, when your name is as cool as JaQuincy McKinstry, you don't need a nickname.
He has a nickname. It's Kool-Aid. We move on to Auburn quarterback Bo Nix, who is also
the lead singer of Sugar Ray.
Oh, my gosh. I was going to say he's a big sweet tea guy.
He wants it that way. God,
yeah,
he is ready.
His hair. Now let's go to Arkansas's offensive line, who got sponsored by a barbecue restaurant.
The hogs eating pigs?
Wow.
I'm so proud of all of these beefy lads. NIL was built for big boys. They have prospered nationwide. You all thought it was going to be only the stars, and you were right.
Oh, my God.
The 5 stars up front.
Well, guess what? Your people can also sing, because Marshall offensive lineman
Your
Will Ulmer
people.
is a country singer, and now he can sing out in the open and get paid for it.
All venues and opportunities.
I also
Smart
like
man.
he says, I will be playing live shows this year as Will Ulmer. Which
As
means,
Will Ulmer,
which means they may have been playing shows as a different identity. I'm just saying.
I mean, we can ask him right now, because we welcome Will to the show. Will, as Jason just said, were you playing did you think that you had to play songs under like an alias at one point?
No, I actually did. I had a stage name, and I was playing like shows as the stage name. My stage name was Lucky Bill. So.
Okay. That's an
music for
interesting
you.
name.
So, me being the resident country music guy on the show, I've got a million questions for you, but we'll start with, the dream act. If you could open for anybody, if your music could take you anywhere and you could have the chance to open for anybody, anywhere, what would it be?
Oh, if I could open for anybody, it'd have to be Hank Jr. That's my all-time favorite.
All right, I like that. I like the moxie there. Now, this is also, you mentioned performing as yourself, not a part of a band. Is there anyone else on the O-line that can sing, that can play anything with you, that you might bring along on stage?
We don't really have a lot of other musical talents on the O-line, but my roommate and our starting center, Alex Millette, he's got some good vocals if you can get him out of his shell.
I believe it. So when all of this went down, when you found out that you could actually sing as yourself, what were you thinking at that time? I mean, this is a big deal.
I was ecstatic, honestly, because, like I say, I'd had to market myself as a stage name, and I couldn't use my social media platforms to necessarily promote my music. So it was really big for me just to be able to own my art.
So you mentioned your art. Are you singing mostly covers? You're singing your own stuff? What's your creative process, brother?
For the time being, it's mostly covers, but I've got a lot of material that I've been trying to put out and write and produce and get in the studio with. So I got some originals on the way.
I mean, if you need a fiddle player, I know a guy. I'm just sitting around.
We will send Jason out gladly to go hang out with you and play the fiddle here. But, Will, best of luck with all that, man. Best of luck with the upcoming season. We're looking forward to watching you play and some sort of bar stage location near you out there. Congrats, man. Best of luck.
Can't wait to see you.
Appreciate it, man. Thanks for having me.
So all of that talk about the NIL situation got us thinking. I mean, me and Golic Jr. were both athletes in college. So, what would we have been making money as? Let's start with Gojo. And we have no idea what these are.
Yeah.
So this is...
Oh, man.
Oh. I mean, this makes sense.
Wait,
definitely donuts.
So to be clear, you took a picture of me in my college uniform and then photoshopped a different version of my face on it here.
Yeah.
It seems like a lot of extra work.
I mean, you look nothing like what I do today.
So you're taking any food item and any music there? Is that?
That's not music. That's a donut, fam.
That's definitely a donut.
Oh, I thought it was a CD. I'm sorry.
Those are CD. What is
Wow.
this, 2001?
Let's not talk about...
Oh!
Yes.
Yep.
That's
I'm all about a chain. First of all, yes. I feel like this just means that everybody that wears a chain, no matter what kind of chain it is, on a football field or anywhere, is biting my style, because I was the OG.
Honestly,
Can we acknowledge
I would believe that.
And her picture looks spectacular. Yours, you look a little crazy. Christine, she looks like a model.
Thank you.
Yeah, I mean,
and
listen.
That's an actual picture. They didn't replace my face or anything that they did.
They didn't have to give you a different football head?
My real picture. That whole thing.
Monsters.
Yes.
Dear God. More cheese it.
Since we're on the subject of Miami, the wonderful University of Miami, we're going to play a little game called Contender or Pretender, and we're going to start with Miami. So, Fitz, I'm going to let you go first. University of Miami football.
Okay.
Contender or pretender?
So let me qualify this, because I want to qualify. They're a pretender. And it's a pretender to where we think they're going to be. Miami's a pretty good football team. The problem is everybody wants to anoint Miami as capable of being more. And I just don't see that realistically. I mean, you're talking about a team that had a terrible run defense last year. So every time somebody tells me how many returning starters they have, that doesn't answer the question of what makes you drastically better at your biggest weakness. So, Mike, I think that there are still holes for this team. They're a good football team, but not a great football team. That makes them a pretender.
I think it'll be very similar to what we had last year here. De'Aaron King can bend the field in a way few college quarterbacks can. They've got some talent in their group up front, but working as a unit still kind of evades them. Charleston Rambo is going to be awesome, the transfer from Oklahoma. I know one sat out last year in Gregory Rousseau. You lost 3 first-round caliber defensive linemen on your team, and I got to cover Miami's spring game this year, and while there's a lot to be excited about, one of the questions was surrounding who was going to replace all that outgoing talent on the defensive line here, and I have concerns about their ability to get after some of these quality quarterbacks we're going to see in the ACC.
Well, and you see the Manny Diaz graphic here. We've talked to Manny before on radio together. I mean, you're talking about somebody that came in with high expectations, getting the job because of his job with the defense specifically. So the fact that, they've had some defensive issues at times when it comes to stopping the run is a little bit surprising to me. And you're right. He's recruited great on the defensive line, but he's better hope he's got a pipeline.
I was going to ask one more question regarding this. Are they a contender or pretender when it comes to the whole entire college football landscape, or is it the ACC in general? Like, do we feel like they're going to win their division?
Oof, winning the Coastal. I could see it. I mean, mostly because I can see anyone winning the Coastal at any given year, at any given time. I'm going to count Notre Dame and say that we have had 8 different Coastal representatives in the last 8 years here. Looking at the schedule, North Carolina on the road is a tough draw. Pitt is always an absolute tire fire of football events for everyone.
Well, and look at the schedule there with the first 3 weeks. I think it's of note. I mean, Bama, sure, we're all going to have eyes on that. But App State and then Michigan State, you've got 3 straight weeks of uncommon opponents. And that's 3 straight weeks of uncommon opponents that are capable talent-wise of beating some teams. I don't think Michigan State's particularly great this year, but I mean, I'm looking at that saying that's actually a sneaky tough schedule to start with.
App State's scary, man. App State's scary.
They're going to beat Alabama, and then everybody's going to...
Hey, listen, Fitz called for 2 Alabama losses already.
I need Alabama to lose 2 games this year. I've said it on too many platforms. I don't care where they come from. I just need it.
Out the gate. That's what's going down. All right, let's move on to Georgia. Contender or pretender?
Georgia is a contender. This is one of the scariest, most talented football teams in college football. The thing I worry about with them is, are they going to stay healthy enough for long enough? Like, first George Pickens goes down this offseason. Now Darnell Washington, one of their stud tight ends here. Now, they brought in, one of the most talented skill position players in all of college football this offseason. The transfer out of LSU in, God, why am I blanking on Buddy's name right now after just lauded him with praise? Fitz, vamp for me for a second.
Well, we're showing the JT Daniels highlights while you look that up. And let's be real, JT Daniels last year was absolutely a delight once he got comfortable, right? And once you saw him in that offense comfortable, that offense exploded. I think Georgia's going to look at the last few years as opportunity lost. I think this is the year they take advantage of.
Eric Gilbert, because I'm an idiot, who is a transcendent tight end talent. I believe the highest ranked tight end prospect ever coming out of high school that just falls into their lap. That Todd Monken offense is bombs away, and it's Kirby Smart on defense.
Also, the SEC East, not particularly good this year. The schedule breaks their way. I think Georgia's going to represent the SEC in the college football playoff as the conference champion. How do you like that?
Wow. Is the first matchup against Clemson a must-win?
No,
okay.
Not at all. They could lose that game, go undefeated from there on out, and I think we're watching both of them in this thing.
As long as we all know the one rule, you can't get blown out. As long as you don't get blown out, they can.
Is that the rule? Really? Is that the rule?
Don't get blown out.
Don't get blown out.
It's one of the commandments. We wrote them.
That is a commandment. You're right. Let's move on. Texas A&M, contender, pretender.
I think they're a contender. Look, Kellen Mond is going to get all the attention. How do they replace the quarterback position is going to be the number one focus. But I keep looking at, the fact that they have Isaiah Spiller coming back. They've got a great wide receiver core, at least a good wide receiver core. There are some question marks on the offensive line. There's some question marks at the quarterback position. But they get Bama at home. They finish the season at LSU. The rest of it looks pretty manageable. I don't think LSU is going to be that great. So it all comes down to one game for them. And if you can't, this is that one time where you look at Jimbo saying, hey, Jimbo, go make that money.
This could be scary because they got talent on this team. You just graduated the Maroon Goons, one of the best offensive lines in college football last year, and they might find a way to get better during this season. So you announced Haynes King going to be your starter there. DeMarvin Leal on the other side on defense is a game wrecker here. this might be a year where we're talking playoffs. I mean, the Aggies were right there with Notre Dame last year for that 4 seed, and they could kick the door in this year.
And let's also acknowledge that Kellen Mond that we saw last year was not the Kellen Mond that started out, right? Like, Jimbo has done a nice job developing quarterbacks. So you have to give – we've been talking a lot about benefit of the doubt today at the quarterback position. All of the powerhouses are trying to figure out what they're doing at that particular position.
All right, let's move on to another ACC Coastal team. We talked about Miami. Now we're moving on to the North Carolina Tar Heels. Are they a contender or are they a pretender?
Yeah, they're the ones that do not have a question mark at the quarterback position, Mike. But let's also be real. They're replacing 2 running backs and 2 wide receivers that are now going to be playing on Sundays. You're talking about a team that only beat 3 teams with winning records last year, a team that I had huge expectations coming into the season last year, and they just couldn't put it together. It was a weird year last year, but Sam Howell is too good to bet against.
I think this team, I said last year, and now, again, a lot of these guys were gone, this was the fastest offense in the ACC. Clemson still might have been the best. Notre Dame you could put up there in a different way, but this was the fastest offense in the conference. I'm sure we're reloading with talent, as all these premier schools do. You get all 5-year offensive linemen back from last year who gave up a fair amount of pressure, so that's the thing that worries me here. But I think these are contenders legitimately here. That game at Notre Dame, that's going to be an interesting one. The Irish got them on the road last year, sent shockwaves through college football with Herbie and Co calling that one. But I think they're contenders, but it's going to be, can they grab a split like that out in South Bend for a Notre Dame team with some questions?
Yeah, and I'll go back to one thing, too, when you look back at last year. Like our friend Mina Kimes, when she was breaking down drafts and looking at running backs, kept saying, how did North Carolina not win more with these weapons? And that is a real question. I mean, at some point, we got to stop talking about the talent, start talking about the results on the field for North Carolina. But I still think they're for real.
All right, so some of those teams might shock some people. There was something else that shocked people last season, and that was the fact that a lot of really good programs played really awful. Starting with LSU, like, who even knows what happened with that? But let's start actually with Michigan and this conversation. Is this the year of the comeback for Michigan? They went 2-4 last season. What do we expect them to do this season?
I think they're going to be better. Like, we'll probably get closer to a normal Michigan season. But I don't know how I'm supposed to have faith in whoever you put out at quarterback. Last year was supposed to finally be the year. I know it's a COVID year, so things went south in a hurry. And the thing is, we could still end up with Jim Harbaugh here on the other side of this. I know everyone out there is itching to fire him, but again, when it hasn't been a COVID year, it's generally been close to double-digit win seasons for the guy every year. Your only crime is being on the same side as Ohio State.
Yeah, and that's unfortunately still a crime that will impact them. I mean, look, last year they looked out of sync and they looked like they had no idea what they were doing at the quarterback position. I'm not sure anything fixes that short term for Michigan. But realistically, the biggest problem they have is they're not Ohio State. Michigan is going to be better, but they're not at the same level as Ohio State. And I don't think that's a hot take. I'm also not trashing Michigan. Like, it's okay. These two things can be, don't have to be mutually exclusive. Like, Michigan can be better, and Ohio State's still going to be better than Michigan. And unfortunately for Michigan fans, I just think that's part of the reality.
Yeah, it's the old Alabama-LSU thing that ended up getting Les Miles fired out there. And LSU was, hey, if you can't beat, the proximity to your pain is too close here. Take it from me at Notre Dame. I have to get hurt when we get to the college football playoff or an old BCS game. You just got to wait until the game at the end of the year.
I mean, if Michigan has as bad of a season as they did last year, do we feel like Jim Harbaugh is going to be around that much longer?
If it's that bad, yes, they will fire him. Because, again, the extension he signed that keeps him there till 2025, like, we do those things for recruiting. You give people these extensions that we've seen after last year when we said during the pandemic we weren't going to be firing coaches left and right because everyone was on budget cuts. How'd that go? We fired a ton of them. We paid a ton of huge payouts here. It will not matter. So if it is that bad, yes, they will burn it down there. But if it's normal, we could be dealing with Jim Harbaugh still here on the other side of this.
That's the thing. I don't think Michigan's going to be bad enough to warrant firing Jim Harbaugh. So that means one or two things. Either you're just going to have to accept that this is who Michigan is, or you're going to have to turn around and then realize that your best choice is Harbaugh deciding he wants to go somewhere else and work. And I just don't think that's particularly likely either. So it seems like they're just sort of stuck in bed together, like it or not.
All right, let's talk about LSU. I mentioned it. They won a national title. They lost Joe Burrow. Then they went 5-5. It was like this. So how do we feel like they're going to be this season? Is it going to be the same thing?
I'm eating cheeses. You answer.
Yeah, no, it is interesting. So LSU kind of going back to the formula of trying to bring back coordinators that were connected to the coordinators that got them to that college football national championship a few years ago with one of the greatest seasons we've ever seen. And I just don't know. Like, the amount of volatility trying to go back to that, like, that was an extremely dependent offense in a lot of ways. You had the dynamic playmakers outside, but even with a great offensive line, the way they structured that was still let Joe Burrow go back there and cook now. And I don't know if that's necessarily fair to ask of anyone else that we've seen right there. Like, that was a transcendent one-of-one type season. Trying to recapture that kind of lightning is dangerous.
It's hot take time, Mike. Are you ready for a hot take?
Oh, no.
Dear God in heaven.
Look,
Oh, no.
I sit here every Saturday around LSU people that work for ESPN, and I listen to them talk about the number 3 recruiting class and why LSU is going to be better. I'm not sure LSU is going to be better, and that, as a result, means Coach O is going to be on the hot seat. I don't care how close you are to a national championship. Now we're going to get to the spot where everybody's going to say, it was Brady and Burrow that won that national championship, not Coach O. Like, that's real. I think not only is LSU going to end up being a lot like they were last year, as a result, they're going to be looking for a new head coach by the end of the season.
All right, let's get into some bold predictions. And these are going to be one-liners. We need to short and sweet because you guys talk a lot, okay? Bold predictions, and we're going to start with Cincinnati. Cincinnati will become the first Group of 5 school to make the CFP.
In 2025. Go ahead.
I will say no, not this season. I think that game against Notre Dame on the road ends up being a loss. That ends up being the difference.
Okay, so we know that Spencer Rattler, the quarterback for Oklahoma, is the favorite for the Heisman. Are you taking the field over Spencer Rattler for the Heisman?
No, I'll take Spencer Rattler.
I'll take the field. I think there's too much talent out there and too much unsure. We're not sure enough about quarterback positions on big programs. Somebody will get on fire, and somebody will take that.
Interesting. All right, I like this one. Iowa State will take the Big 12 title from Oklahoma.
I hate this. I love Iowa State. I don't think they're going to take the Big 12 title from Oklahoma.
Matt Campbell is 2-3 against Lincoln Riley.
Yeah. Matt Campbell is an incredible coach here. I know he's looking to get poached by a lot of places. They bring everybody back here on that offense, but I just think this is the year where Spencer Rattler kind of erases some of those mistakes and starts to take a nasty step.
I love Ames, Iowa, but they are not going to be Big 12 champions.
They are one of 2 teams, including Notre Dame, Mike Golic Jr., that have 3 players on the AP preseason poll.
Oh, God. Mike Rowe's a beast on that defensive side, too. That defense is fun to watch.
Okay.
But they're not going to win it.
I like this one.
No,
also,
Brock
wow,
Purdy
these are really good ones.
Purdy jokes?
Oh,
okay,
dear God. Let her talk. Stop with your
Okay, so
just being cheesy.
This is another one of my favorites. Miami will pull off the upset over Alabama week 1.
What in tarnation?
Miami won't even cover against Alabama in week 1. They're going to get slaughtered.
Fitz, you're the one who said that Alabama's going to have 2 losses this season. Why can't it be Miami?
Right.
Yeah, because I'm becoming a master of hot takes. If I take 2 different hot takes on the same thing, one of them is bound to be right.
The Stugatz is strong in this, guys. No, I don't think they upset Alabama week 1, but I think it's probably closer than people expect.
Okay.
Roll Tide.
Notre Dame will finish 4-0 against ranked opponents.
All right, so it is number 12 Wisconsin at Soldier Field for this team. It is number 8 Cincinnati at home. Number 15 USC in October, which means that is also in South Bend. And North Carolina at home. So they do have the good fortune of drawing all of these difficult games either at home or, in the case of Wisconsin, at a neutral site there. So, man, 4-0 against this group.
He doesn't want to say it.
You know what? I think so. It is going to be a very different Notre Dame year this year. The Notre Dame offensive last year, I think, defined by the picture we saw against North Carolina. 14 personnel on the field, 1 running back and 4 tight ends. This offense is going to be more spread out this year. Jack Cohn is a veteran signal caller coming into a place that just lost statistically the most productive quarterback in its career here. They've gotten some development from guys like Braden Lindsey. They're going to bring back who could be the best tight end in football in Michael Mayer. And keep an eye out, true freshman left tackle Blake Fisher. I promise you, college football, you will know him soon as a terrifying mountain of a man here. And that's before we get to the Marcus Freeman defense, the old defensive coordinator at Cincinnati that was putting guys into the pros, that was giving Georgia hell in that bowl game here. He's got some really great personnel to work with. Especially with the way it shakes out with them being at home. I can work with this.
So Notre Dame will finish 4-0 versus ranked opponents and then get the snot kicked out of them in the playoffs because the football gods don't like for you to have nice things.
Wow.
I mean, listen,
nice.
you can't hurt me because you know what you just said? In the playoffs. in the playoffs.
He
Fitz.
puts on the facade.
He
but
is taking
you're not with him when he sits there and watches the loss.
He's going to take that edge. Okay, let's move on to, I know you guys have seen these Hood Olympics milk crate challenge videos where people are trying to climb milk crates. I don't know where they're getting these milk crates from. I've never seen this many milk crates.
Jeff Bezos is making money off them.
Anyways, yeah, exactly. You're clearly ordering them on Amazon.
Does milk still get delivered in crates?
Because no, I don't understand. I honestly don't understand the concept. But anyways, since Golic Jr. is calling football games this season, we're going to have him call some milk crate challenge Hood Olympics videos. Let's see what we got.
All right, you guys are in the booth with me on this one here.
Yeah.
First up here, doing it on concrete, degree of difficulty high, head is low.
In the face.
I mean,
To quote Mike Breen, bang!
I feel like the dismount was the problem there.
I feel like the bike is the problem here.
That's
I'm not sure how he got it up, but we know how he got it down here. In the cutoff, no less.
Somebody clip that off.
Help me out, internet here. The mascot's getting in on the game. I know my two coworkers here are calling shenanigans, but I choose to believe that the balance necessary to shake and swivel those hips got him to the other side.
There's got to be some tapage in there.
Oh, yeah, there's tapage for sure.
Disproven. And don't you go to video editing on this, you monsters. I believe in the truth. And I believe in speed, because what's the one thing you can't coach? Speed. And look at the footwork. Down. Selly, the playground, letting him know that we have a new champion and a new hero here. That is how you become victorious in the Hood Olympics.
Raiders going to draft him in the first round next year.
What is the likelihood that who out of us would actually be able to do it?
Oh, I mean.
Okay, I thought about it. It's me.
I would give so much money to watch Jason do it, though.
I would love to watch Fitz do that, too.
Yeah, no, I'd lose all my teeth. Like, I'd end up face down and toothless. I really had to
Yeah, wow.
That's it.
Okay, folks, we are so excited for the return of college football with fans back in the stands this season, and so is Cheez-It. Something big and cheesy is on the horizon for college football fans. So make sure to follow all three of us on social media and be on the lookout for more information. Week 1, as we get set to launch the illustrious Hall of Cheese in search of the most dedicated fan in college football, the MV Cheese. More cheesy details to come. Fitz, Gojo, you excited about that?
Man, I cannot wait.
Fired up. Let's get ready to go, even though they're showing USC people on screen.
I mean, that's not accidental, right? That is not accidental.
You guys are sick.
We're just going to eat too much. That is
the best part of the season, Jason, here is me making bold predictions about Notre Dame and slugging Cheez-It.
I mean, I love it. You guys excited about college football? I'm excited about college football. That's all you guys have to say about the season?
Well, all I have to say...
Alabama's going to lose 2 games. What?
My God, you're really
and Notre Dame is going to go 4-0 against ranked opponents. I love that.
You guys backed me into a corner.
Alabama's going to lose 2 games
Those
and
are
still
our
make
hot
the playoffs.
takes. Thanks for watching the College Football Preview Show presented by Cheez-It. We will see you guys very, very soon.
Cincinnati's going undefeated.
Cincinnati's going to be good.
College football fans, something big is coming.
Something big and cheesy.
Wait, we're talking about the Cheez-It Hall of Cheese, right? This isn't like a dig at me?
Obviously.